Hey, philosophy guys, it's me. This is our first lesson for our virtual classroom. And we're going to finish Plato's Republic today. I'm not going to read it out loud to you or anything like that. I do want you to read it out loud to yourself. You'll notice that we ended on page 44, or for those who number it the other way, it's actually page 18 down here at the bottom. So 18 down here at the bottom. Again, read with your pencil or your pen so you can make little notations, etc. as we go. So what's happened up to this point? Well, remember we're talking about creating, or rather educating, the guardians of the city. And he said these guardians had to be like dogs, and he said these guardians had to be philosophers. And in order to be philosophers, we had to come up with we had to come up with education. And so he talks about educating in gymnastic and in music, right? And I asked you the other day, actually, here it is, gymnastic and music, to do an assignment in which you looked up the 3 subjects of the trivium and the 4 subjects of the quadrivium. I still want you to do that. I'll send something out reminding you, I hope, to send those to me via email. But I also need you to start thinking about some essays for this, because we're going to have a test. I'm going to send those essays to you either tonight, later, or tomorrow. And so you can start working on them. They'll be due probably on Friday. I got to double check at what the date is I put on the Dropbox. It may be Friday afternoon or maybe midnight Friday morning. I'm not sure. So that'd be Thursday night, turning Friday morning at midnight. But where we left off here on page 18/44 was we had just gone through at proving that God has to be absolutely good, right? That God is not the author of all things, but only of good things. God can't do evil. He can't author evil. Then we talked about in class how evil is nothing more than the privation or the lack of a good. It's an absence. So just as dark is the absence of light, and so just as cold is the absence of warmth or of heat, we can say that evil is the lack of a due good, a good that should be there. That's really what an evil is. Evil is not a positive reality. It's not something that occurs in that sort of way. He then continues down here to ask whether God is magical. Does he shapeshift? Does he, apologize for those interruptions. Does he change shape and appear and do anything like that? And as we see here through the text, the answer is no. And so he's saying that, well, hold on. So he gets confused, and he says, well, what do you mean? Why would he change? Well, does he have any defects? Well, no, he doesn't have any defects. And in fact, in everything which is good, whether made by art or nature, is both liable to suffer change from without, right? So, in other words, the better a thing is, the least likely it is to change. And so, if God is perfect or is good, then he cannot be deficient in any way, and is therefore suffers no change, right? So Socrates comes to these very interesting conclusions about God. One, that he is of absolute goodness, and that he is perfect and unchangeable, which are theological conclusions that we Christians think we came up with many years later, 400 plus years later. So we come to the conclusion here at the bottom: we shouldn't let the poets talk about these versions of gods that are untrue, where they have the gods coming to earth and doing things, where they go about by night in the likeness of so many strangers in diverse forms. But let them take heed lest they make cowards of their children, and at the same time speak blasphemy against the gods. It kind of reminds me of a little prayer that is said every night at Compline. Compline is night prayer if you are doing your night prayers. I'll show you exactly what I mean. It's from 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 through 9, and in Compline it's called the short reading. And it says this: Brethren, be sober and watch, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, goeth about seeking whom he may devour. Whom resist ye strong in faith? But do thou, O Lord, have mercy on us. So be sober and watch, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, goeth about seeking whom he may devour, prowling about the night, etc. Kind of like some of the poets talk about the multiple gods of the Greeks. Again, something we talked about in class before was the idea that I think the reason he keeps talking about this is that ultimately he wants to say or show that this polytheistic idea is actually not probable or even remotely correct. He wants to show that there is a single God. Read through the rest of this on your own. It's a little bit confusing, but ask any questions after you go through it. And I'll be sending you a few essays to write as your test. That again will be due either Thursday night or Friday afternoon. I don't remember which. It's in the Dropbox section of your Blackbaud account. Thanks very much.